you can't go wrong with an Old Forester barrel strength. All right, so welcome back to another episode of E equals MC Bourbon. We are super excited. What we decided to do in this episode is Chuck was lucky enough to get an Old Forester barrel strength because the two people that are not madly obsessed with Old Forester decided to buy Old Forester barrel strength, and the one of us that is madly obsessed with Old Forester decided to pass on it.
One of us on a budget.
That's questionable. We don't believe that.
Yeah, anyway.
So what we decided to do in this episode is we are going to try these two Old Forester barrel strengths. So we've got the Quarantine number 2, and we've got the MTS, the usual. So this one comes straight from Old Forester itself. It is the MTS, which is Master Taster Series, meaning Jackie herself decided that this is a great and exceptional product. And we're going to see which one of the two stands up. As we showed you in the last episode, and the link is in there, you can't go wrong with an Old Forester barrel strength. So we'll see what notes we get.
Let's see. I mean, number 1, really, that nose is really nice.
Yeah, number 1, I'd say on the nose right away has a little bit more, having not tasted either.
Yeah, one's got vanilla, caramel, all the bourbon notes you want.
That brown sugar. I mean, number 2 hangs in there.
Yeah, number 2 is nice. I maybe get slightly more herbal on number 2.
Yeah, so number 1's got all that sweet notes, everything like that. Number 2's got, like, kind of comes in, but then kind of goes a little flat, and has a little herbal notes in there.
That's a good way to describe it.
But there's a little flat note on the nose, at least.
Wow.
Number 1's great on the palate. Caramel, vanilla, baking spice. It's got a good peppery finish.
And I feel like that peppery finish just kind of coats your mouth very well. Kind of a lasting peppery finish on that.
Ooh. Number 2 hangs.
Number 2 does.
I feel like the pepper on number 2 is not quite as strong. Like if you're looking for a little bit of a subtler finish, I feel like this one, the pepper doesn't quite
Might need some more tasting.
be pronounced. Oh, feel free, taste away. That's why we're here.
Yeah, I was going to say number 2 doesn't have the finish notes that number 1 does. Number 2 is just a caramel bomb explosion in your mouth, and then just keeps going with the caramel and the sweetness. And then it just goes and goes and goes, and it doesn't ever like change that. Whereas number 1 has suddenly hit some of those floral notes, almost, dare I say, a 4 Roses note with some of those, the pepper and all that great stuff. So it both are great. It's going to really depend on what type of bourbon you're in the mood for.
Boy, I feel like I'm having a hard time here, guys. Like you're delineating these things, and I'm like, you described number 2 as without that pepper finish, and I'm still getting that on the number 2.
I mean, it's there for me. I feel like number 1 goes from this sweeter to pepper. The contrast is larger. I feel like number 2 has both of those elements, but neither one is as pronounced, if that makes sense. It's like I get a little bit less of that sweetness on the front, a little bit less of the pepper on the back. It's more consistent. As versus number 2, I get more of that on the front, more of that on the back. Just me.
For me, it's an easy 1-2. And one of the, again, like I said in the beginning, one of these bottles is mine, one of these bottles is Chuck's. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to lose this one. I think Chuck's is probably going to be the winner.
We don't know that. Let's see.
I'm going with this one right here as my number 1. Number 1 is my number 1.
Oh. I would say number 2 is my number 1.
Oh, it is number 1, actually. Look at that.
Number 1 is my number 1.
So you're going, so you're going
1-2.
1-2.
1 and then apparently 2.
and I'm going 2-1. So the majority has number 2 as number 2, which is
Yours.
mine. Quarantine Select number 2.
Which had previously beat out the President's Choice.
Yep. And
All
wow.
3 barrels that we had the opportunity to sample.
And for you two, the winner tonight is the MTS The Usual, which is number 1.
The usual.
Which I'm completely okay with, which means once again, in a blind tasting, I chose my barrel strength as the best.
You take that, and I'll take
what do you
this,
got?
and we'll be happy.
And once
And I'm
again,
left with
nothing.
these.
Just some Glen Cairns.
Yeah.
There we
So,
go.
once again, if you can find an Old Forester barrel strength, please pick it up. It is a great product. The community has been begging for some barrel strength quality Old Forester products for a while, and just again support the brands you like. If also for us, please hit the like, hit the subscribe, give us a thumbs up, hit us up in the comments, let us know what you think. Have you been able to find an Old Forester barrel strength, or have you lucked out and found an Old Forester 100 proof since they've canceled the 90 proofs?
Or 150.
Yeah, or Olfo
Yeah.
150. And if you really like us a lot, we would gladly accept a sample of an Olfo
would
150
we?
anniversary and
Oh,
give
I
you
would.
our opinion. Plus, we'd love to blind it off and let Brian choose something us like 4 Roses over an Olfo because it would just break his heart.
It would. So bad. But I would love the opportunity.
So thanks again for tuning in and everything, and we can't wait to see you next time. So see you
Stay
next
neat.
week.
Keep drinking.